Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into DeepSeek-V3 today.
Oh, yeah.
This AI model
Yeah.
from China that's been causing quite a stir.
Yeah.
People are asking a lot of questions about it,
Mm.
and we've got a whole stack of sources here.
Okay.
Technical papers, news articles,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out,
Right.
is it hype or is it truly a challenger
Yeah.
to these big AI players like OpenAI?
Well, right away.
Yeah.
One thing that really jumps out is that DeepSeek-V3 is both open source
Wow.
and it's performing comparably to models like GPT-4o and Claude 3.5,
Oh, really?
but at a fraction of the cost.
That's pretty impressive right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the first things I noticed digging into these papers
Okay.
was this mixture of experts architecture,
Yeah.
or MOE. It sounds incredibly complex. How would you explain that?
It's actually a really clever approach.
Okay.
So instead of one massive neural network trying to handle absolutely everything, imagine a team of specialized algorithms.
Okay.
Each one is like an expert, trained on a specific type of data or task,
Interesting.
and they work together.
So rather than one giant brain,
Exactly.
it's like having a team of specialists
Yep.
that you call on depending on the problem.
That's a great way to put it.
And is that how they achieve such efficiency?
It's a big part of it.
Right.
So DeepSeek-V3 has a massive 671 billion parameters,
Wow.
which is a measure of its complexity.
Okay.
But only a small fraction of those are actually activated
Oh, interesting.
for any given task.
So it's not just brute force.
Right.
It's being smart with the resources.
Yeah, it's like having a huge toolbox, but you only take out the tools you need
Right.
for a specific job.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of being smart with resources,
Yeah.
the cost difference is mind-boggling to me.
It's pretty remarkable.
One article mentioned DeepSeek-V3 was trained on roughly $5.5 million,
Yep.
while GPT-4 probably cost over $100 million.
I think that's a pretty safe estimate.
How is that even possible?
Well, a few things are at play here. First, they used a technique called FP8 mixed precision training.
FP8.
FP8.
Okay.
Basically, it's a way of representing the data used during training
Okay.
in a much less memory-intensive format.
So like compressing a file.
You got it.
Okay.
You get most of the information, but it takes up way less space.
So they're being more efficient with the data itself.
Exactly.
That's clever.
Yeah.
But even with that,
Yeah.
training these huge models takes a ton of computing power, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where another innovation comes in. Auxiliary loss-free load balancing.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
What does that even mean?
So it makes sure that the workload is distributed evenly across all those different AI experts.
Right.
During training,
Okay.
it prevents any one part from becoming a bottleneck. And they've managed to do it without adding extra computations that would drive up the cost.
So it's like having a really efficient project manager,
I like that analogy.
keeping everyone on the team working at their best,
Yeah.
but without any of that wasted effort.
Exactly.
So they've streamlined the whole process.
They really have.
It's amazing how they're doing this.
Yeah.
And on top of all that,
Uh-huh.
DeepSeek-V3 can handle much longer strings of text
Oh, yeah.
than many of the other models out there.
Up to 128,000 tokens.
128,000 tokens.
Yeah.
I mean, that means it can understand
Right.
and process information
Yeah.
in a much deeper way.
Much more nuanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of doors does that open?
Well, imagine being able to instantly analyze
Okay.
huge legal documents, research papers,
Yeah.
getting the key insights
Yeah.
without having to wade through all that text.
Wow.
Or imagine having an AI assistant that could help you write a whole novel.
That would be incredible.
Keeping track of all the characters and plot points.
Across hundreds of pages.
Yeah.
Those are some really impressive possibilities.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why this model is causing such a stir.
It's definitely turning heads.
Yeah.
It's not just another AI. It could be a game changer.
And especially with its performance in specific areas.
Mm-hmm.
One article was highlighting how it's particularly strong
Right.
in reasoning and math,
It really excels there.
even outperforming some of the industry giants.
Yeah, on the Math 500 benchmark,
Okay.
which tests advanced mathematical problem solving, DeepSeek-V3 actually scored higher than GPT-4o and Claude 3.5.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a remarkable feat.
Okay, so this isn't just marketing hype. It's backed up by hard data.
Yeah, the results are pretty convincing.
I'm curious to see how it stacks up in other areas, too.
Yeah, we can definitely take a closer look at those benchmarks.
Yeah.
But first, there's one more aspect of DeepSeek-V3 that I think we need to unpack. This whole idea of self-rewarding AI.
Yes.
That was a fascinating read.
That was the part that really caught my eye.
Yeah.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
A little bit, right.
An AI that can evaluate its own performance.
It's a pretty wild concept.
So how does it even work?
Well, it's still early days for this type of technology.
Yeah.
But essentially, they're leveraging the model's own vast knowledge base to kind of judge the quality of its own output in areas where it's harder to create specific rules for feedback.
So things like creative writing?
Yeah, creative writing.
Or more nuanced language tasks?
Exactly.
It's like having a built-in editor.
That's a good way to think about it.
That can instantly give feedback on your story or essay?
Yeah, it could be incredibly useful.
But it also raises some interesting questions.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So instead of like programmers telling it what's right or wrong, it can actually learn and improve on its own.
In a way. Yeah.
At least in certain areas. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a big step forward.
But I imagine it raises some questions, too.
Oh, tons of questions.
Like, where does that leave us?
Right.
If an AI can be its own teacher?
Exactly.
What are the limits of that self-learning? Does it mean that AI is becoming less reliant on humans?
It's definitely a possibility.
That's a big one to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring it back down to earth for a minute.
Sure.
And look at those benchmarks you were talking about. What are they showing us?
Well, as we mentioned, it excels in reasoning and math, but it's interesting.
Okay.
It does very well in coding tasks.
Okay.
But Claude 3.5 Sonnet still seems to have an edge there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about general language understanding?
So things like question answering and text summarization, it's more middle of the pack.
Okay.
Performs well, but it doesn't consistently outperform GPT-4o or Claude.
So it's not a universal champion.
Bro.
Got its strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, just like a team with different players who excel at different things.
And one area where DeepSeek-V3 seems to really shine is its ability to process those extra long strings of text.
Absolutely.
The 128,000 tokens. One of the articles talked about how this makes it ideal for tasks that require a really deep understanding of complex information.
Think about analyzing legal documents, scientific research papers.
Oh, wow.
Even entire books.
That's incredible.
DeepSeek-V3 can keep track of all those nuances, connections, the context that other models with shorter token limits just miss.
So it's almost like having a research assistant that can devour tons of information.
Yeah, and pull out those key insights.
That could be revolutionary for so many fields.
I think so, especially those that deal with complex text.
Okay, so we've talked about its performance, its efficiency, its unique architecture.
Right.
But there's another piece of the puzzle that sets DeepSeek-V3 apart.
Yeah.
And this could have huge implications for the future of AI development.
You're talking about it being open source, right? That's a big one.
This is so different from what companies like OpenAI are doing.
Keeping their models proprietary.
Yeah. And it sparked a lot of discussion.
It really has.
In the AI community.
Definitely.
By making DeepSeek-V3 open source, the developers are basically inviting everyone to collaborate, experiment, build on their work.
It's a very different philosophy.
It is.
Much more collaborative.
So what kind of impact could this have on the field?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Why is this such a big deal?
Well,
I think for me, the most exciting thing is that it's not just about big companies anymore.
Right.
Anyone with the skills and the drive can contribute from startups to students.
Absolutely.
It really levels the playing field.
Yeah, it does.
And could lead to this burst of innovation.
It's like throwing open the doors to this giant laboratory and saying, come on in, let's all see what we can discover together.
It really does feel like the Wild West of AI.
Yeah, a little bit.
Full of potential. And a bit of the unknown.
For sure.
Speaking of the unknown, let's zoom out for a second from the technical details. Think about the bigger picture here.
The big picture.
What does DeepSeek-V3 and models like it actually mean for us for the average person.
Right.
How might this change our lives?
Well, one area I'm particularly interested in is education.
Education, okay.
Imagine students having access to personalized AI tutors.
Oh, wow.
That can explain complex concepts in a way that makes sense to them, adapt to their learning styles.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even generate practice problems tailored to their specific needs.
It's like having a personal tutor.
Right.
Available 24/7.
Exactly.
That could revolutionize how we learn.
It really could.
Make it more engaging, more effective.
And more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And what about healthcare?
Oh, healthcare is another great example.
Yeah.
DeepSeek-V3's ability to process so much text could be a game changer for medical diagnosis.
Oh, how so?
Imagine an AI that could analyze your entire medical history, cross-reference it with the latest research, and assist doctors in making faster, more accurate diagnoses.
It could be life-saving.
Absolutely, especially for rare diseases or complex cases.
And it could free up doctors.
Right.
To spend more time with their patients.
More personalized care.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not just specific industries, is it?
No, not at all.
It's how we approach problems in general.
Yeah, this democratization of AI could lead to solutions we haven't even imagined.
From small businesses to individual creators having access to these powerful tools. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
But also a little daunting.
I understand that.
I mean, as these models become more powerful and more widespread, there's some big questions we need to address.
Absolutely. Big questions for society.
How do we ensure the benefits of AI are shared equitably?
That's a big one.
How do we prepare for a future where AI plays a much larger role in the workforce?
Yeah.
And how do we even begin to navigate the ethical considerations as this technology keeps evolving?
It's going to be an ongoing conversation.
It really is.
Yeah.
These are tough questions.
They are.
Without easy answers.
Definitely.
But one thing's for sure.
Yeah.
The conversation about AI is only going to get more important.
More and more important.
It's crucial that we have these conversations now.
Yeah, right now.
While we're still shaping the future.
While we still have a chance to shape it. I completely agree.
And on that note, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
If DeepSeek-V3 developed at a fraction of the cost of its competitors can achieve these remarkable results, what will the next generation be capable of?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
What happens when this kind of power becomes even more accessible?
It's a question that's both exhilarating and a bit unnerving.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
The possibilities are vast.
Limitless, almost.
And the impact on our world could be profound.
I think so.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
On this deep dive into DeepSeek-V3.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has.
Yeah.
We hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Okay.
Keep exploring, keep learning.
Yeah.
And keep those big questions coming.
Those big questions.